We recently got our hands on a Kimber Sapphire Ultra II. This is, I hate to say it, but it's a pretty gun. I know we don't like to call our guns pretty guns, but this is a pretty gun. The PVD finish that they have on this thing is beautiful, and all the small parts in the slide, highly polished. The engraving on it is beautiful, beautiful work. The grips are really cool, G10 grips with the ball cuts in it. Really, really nice looking handgun here. Of course, keeping in standard Kimber fashion, they only send you one magazine with it. To be expected though, so no disappointment there. We'd already broken this thing down at the shop and gotten all the cosmoline off of it, but we went ahead and brought a little bit of rim oil out anyway to get this thing cleaned up a little bit in some of the more critical areas that are going to get a little friction. And of course, this is a brand new gun, so there's going to be a tendency to need to break it in just a little bit anyway. So we went ahead and added our own little touch of rim oil on it. As you can see, it still kind of had a little bit of noise to it, a little grindness to it for the tighter tolerances. So we went ahead again, lubricated that a little bit more than normal. Wanted to shoot it pretty wet on this first time just to make sure it functioned properly and that it didn't damage any of the gun with the tight tolerances on it with a brand new weapon. We grabbed a couple of boxes of Fiocchi ammunition, 115 grain 9mm full metal jacket. We were going to run these things through there and give this thing a shot. Not the results we were looking for. The spent casing did not extract. From that point on, we experienced all kinds of failure to feed and failure to extract, with some instances of success. But not much. We took the weapon down and cleaned it really good, hoping that was part of the problem, and we thought we'd give another magazine a shot. Nope, not happening. Everyone has their own theory about why a gun doesn't fire properly. My first thought, and the cheapest alternative, is try different ammo. We ran down to our secret ammo stash and got some Monarch practice rounds and some Barnes and Hornady self-defense rounds. Went ahead, we're going to try some more of those Fiocchis after we shot these rounds in there to give it a shot. First up was the Monarch, since it was the closest in physicality to the Fiocchi. After 2 rounds of the Monarch, now we were starting to question the firearm. That spent casing went right back in the chamber. It never even left the gun. Of course, we needed a stovepipe to make sure that we had every possible malfunction with a handgun.
Hornady critical defense.
We moved on to the more expensive stuff. All good in the hood. Since the Hornady self-defense rounds worked fine, let's see how the Barnes self-defense rounds worked. Another day at the office. To make sure this wasn't a gun break-in issue, we went back to the Fiocchi one more time.
Let's try this again. That's not going to work. I felt it go up sluggishly. It's not going to work. Nope. I'm not going to run any more of this Fiocchi through it.
Clearly, ammo was the issue. Out of the 4 boxes of rounds that we shot, the 2 practice rounds, the Fiocchi and the Monarch, both had the same types of problems, either failure to feed or failure to extract. However, when we shot the self-defense rounds, we had 100% success with running both of these rounds through there. So what was the difference? Now, the most obvious difference is the shape of the tip of the bullet. But the overall length of a bullet is very important as far as controlling the overall feeding of a round into a chamber. So we got our caliper out and took a look. First up was the Full Metal Jacket Monarch. It came in at 1.152. Then the Fiocchi, also a Full Metal Jacket, came in at 1.1, let's call it 1.149. little bit shorter than a Monarch, only 3/1000 shorter, but anyone in the reloading business knows 3/1000s can make a difference. We moved on to the Barnes, which is a hollow point self-defense round. It came in at 1.125, quite a bit shorter than the other two Full Metal Jacket rounds. We moved on to the Hornady, and it came in even shorter at 1.091. Clearly the overall length of the rounds had an effect on feeding properly into the Sapphire. Now let's take a look at the profiles of these particular rounds. You can clearly see that the two Full Metal Jacket rounds on the far left have a very distinct difference as far as nose shape than the two self-defense rounds on the right. Most notably the Hornady on the far right, look how pointed the tip is to assist in movement up that feed ramp into the chamber. Now the one thing that we did not have time to test was the fact that these more expensive self-defense rounds are most likely powered with a little bit more gunpowder in it to make it a hotter load, whereas the Full Metal Jacket rounds probably have a little bit lighter load. This gun has a 16-pound recoil spring on it, a very heavy recoil spring for a 3-inch gun. We're going to chrono these rounds, these 4 rounds at some point, and see if that's part of the difference as well. But clearly, length of the bullet and shape of the tip has an effect on the feeding of rounds into the chamber.
I like to picture Jesus as a ninja fighting off evil samurai.